Okay, let's be real. If you've been on the internet for more than 5 minutes, you've seen them. The ads, right? Popping up everywhere, promising these huge, fast, life-changing results from male enhancement. It is a super confusing world of crazy claims, and it's so easy to get sucked in and wonder, hey, what's real here? Well, that's what we're doing today. We are going to cut right through all that noise and give you a straight-up, science-backed guide.
I mean, look at this. The secret to adding inches in weeks. This kind of thing is designed to hit you right where you're most insecure. And honestly, it's brilliant marketing. It works. Millions of guys see these ads, and that little voice in their head pops up wondering, but what if it actually works?
But here's the big question, the one that really matters. What does the science actually say? And that right there is the entire mission of this explainer. We're going to peel back the layers of marketing hype and get right to the medical reality using real data from urologists, medical journals, the sources you can actually trust.
All right, first things first. Before we can even start busting myths, we have to ground ourselves in reality. Let's start with the hard facts. Because honestly, understanding the actual data, that's the most powerful first step you can take toward feeling genuinely confident.
So there's this huge myth out there, right? A lot of it fueled by the adult entertainment industry, that the average size is like way over 6 inches. But the science tells a totally different story. Study after study after study confirms it. The average length of an erect penis is right around 5.1 to 5.5 inches. For the vast, vast majority of men, their size is squarely in that typical range. It's just a fact.
Now this is where it gets really interesting. Check out this perception gap. A massive study of over 52,000 people found that while 85% of women were totally satisfied with their partner's penis size, get this, only 55% of the men were satisfied with their own. This tells us so much. The anxiety isn't coming from partners, it's an internal thing.
In fact, this anxiety can be so intense that it actually has a medical name, penile dysmorphic disorder, or PDD. Yep, it's a recognized condition where the main issue isn't physical at all, it's psychological. It's this intense, persistent worry about size that just doesn't line up with reality, and that is what fuels the huge demand for all these so-called enhancement products.
Okay, so let's dive into that marketplace, shall we? This is where we're going to take apart the most common products you see advertised online, and we're going to see what the real scientific and medical experts have to say about their wild claims.
All right, let's break this table down because this is important. First up, pills and lotions. The FDA is constantly warning about these. Why? Because many of them have hidden, unlisted prescription drugs like sildenafil. That's the active ingredient in Viagra. They don't make anything grow, but they can cause incredibly dangerous interactions with other medications. Okay, what about jelqing exercises? There is zero, and I mean zero, scientific proof they work. The Mayo Clinic actually warns they can lead to scarring, pain, and even disfigurement. Not good. And finally, vacuum pumps. All they do is cause temporary swelling by pulling blood into the area. And if you overuse them, you can actually damage the tissue and end up with weaker erections down the line. So yeah.
So, after all that myth-busting, you're probably wondering, okay, does anything actually work? And the answer is, well, it's complicated. Let's switch gears and look at the options that have at least some science behind them. And more importantly, let's reframe this whole conversation around genuine health.
Believe it or not, according to a major review in the journal Androgenital, and this is backed up by other sources, there's only one non-surgical method that has shown any real evidence for physical lengthening, and that is using something called a penile traction device, or an extender.
But, and this is a huge but, before you get too excited, let's look at the reality of what that means. The potential gain is pretty modest. We're talking about 1 to 2 centimeters, which is less than an inch. And to even get that, you have to wear this device for 4 to 6 hours, every single day for months on end. And it does absolutely nothing for girth. So what's the verdict? It's a massive, massive time commitment for a very, very small result.
Okay, now let's talk about what really matters for sexual health. This quote from Harvard Health, it's a game changer. For a huge number of men, up to 30%, problems with erectile function aren't a size issue at all. They're a health issue. It can be the very first warning sign that something more serious is going on with your heart and your arteries. And that completely reframes this entire conversation from being about appearance to being about your overall well-being.
So really, it comes down to 2 paths you can take. On one side, you have the cosmetic fixes, the pills, the pumps, the exercises. We've seen that they're not just ineffective, they're often risky. Their focus is purely on appearance. But then you have the other path,
the one that focuses on health and lifestyle, things like exercise, diet, and weight. And this path, it is proven to improve erectile function and, more importantly, your total well-being.
So, what does that health-focused path actually look like? Well, these 5 steps, which are recommended by Harvard Health, are the most effective, science-backed ways to improve sexual function. I mean, just walking 30 minutes a day was linked to a 41% drop in the risk for ED. Eating a healthy diet, managing your weight, protecting your vascular system, and even doing pelvic floor exercises, these all have proven benefits. Not for size, but for something much more important: function.
So after all this, what does it all mean for you? Where does that real, lasting confidence actually come from? Let's bring everything we've talked about together into a clear, actionable plan. Okay, here's your action plan. It's pretty straightforward. First, focus on your health and fitness. Getting in shape is literally the most reliable way to improve your sexual function. Second, talk openly with your partner. I promise you, you will almost certainly find that they care way more about connection than they do about size. Third, ground yourself in the facts we've covered today, not the marketing fiction. Remember, the reality is that you are most likely completely typical. And finally, if this anxiety is still overwhelming, talk to a doctor or a counselor. This is a health issue and it is absolutely treatable.
And we'll leave you with this one last question to chew on. After sorting through all the science and all the marketing, doesn't it seem like this obsessive quest for size might just be a huge distraction? A distraction from the things that truly build confidence and intimacy, things like your overall health, your communication, and how you see yourself.